Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, March 9. For the fifth consecutive financial year, the government will not impose any new taxes. That was among the highlights of Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke's presentation as he opened the 2022-23 budget debate in Parliament Tuesday. Minister Clarke says the state will establish a special $2 billion fund to ease the impact of rising fuel prices on the vulnerable. The measure will support persons who are unable to pay the high gas and energy prices.
We will come back on the details in terms of allocation because we want to discuss with stakeholders, get other people's views of how we should allocate it. But I can easily see, some of it being used to provide some relief to taxi operators who have fixed fares, and some being used for children on path who have transportation costs and so forth.
Meanwhile, provisions are being made to incentivize the purchase of electric vehicles. Minister Clarke says import duty has been reduced from 30% to 10% for an initial 5-year period. Annual registration fees have also been exempted on battery-operated electric vehicles.
Last year, the government earned only $27 million in duties on it from the importation of electric cars. This measure has a cost of $18 million, therefore, on current volumes. However, because duties on motor vehicles are so large and a huge part of government revenues, we will need to limit the number of electric vehicles being imported that benefit from this duty to in the first instance, 1,000 per annum. And we'll come with more details on how this will work.
This will be implemented in the first quarter of the upcoming fiscal year. In the meantime, support for the most vulnerable will be prioritized through a $200 million allocation to families who are not on the PATH program. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke told Tuesday's Parliament that qualified families would receive a one-off grant of $10,000 to assist with food expenses. Over the next 3 weeks, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security will partner with organizations such as the Jamaica Red Cross to identify persons in need.
This, Madam Speaker, is immediate. It is right now.
Come April, government will distribute $250 million worth of care packages to the most vulnerable. The funds will be disbursed by members of Parliament and municipal corporations.
We have made provisions to be in a position to follow up with another $250 million later in the year, depending on how the situation evolves.
In other news, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will be seeking to expand the mother farm concept across the island to boost domestic crop production. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. gave the commitment during a recent tour of Dencon Foods Jamaica Limited in Clarendon.
This type of operation represents exactly what Jamaica needs to move towards self-sufficiency, sustainable development, and to really achieve our local production.
The concept boasts first-class drying rooms and cold storage facilities, which Minister Charles Jr. says allows greater efficiency to meet local and export demand while reducing wastage.
So we want in 10 years to have a number of these operations so that our discussion then is more focused on how we are exporting to other countries around the world.
He says the ministry will be working with Dencon Foods and small farmers to share the best practices that will allow for maximum crop yield. And finally, government is working to increase the take-up of funds offered under the Development Bank of Jamaica's program for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. This drive will be bolstered by a $24.5 million allocation for the MSME sector. Minister without portfolio Robert Montague told a recent meeting of Parliament's Standing Finance Committee that the DBJ has introduced a digital system to speed up the time between application and disbursement of funds.
A lot of the small and micro enterprises are not properly registered under the Companies Act. The Companies Office has gone out and have undertaken these programs to register them, so that some of the funds require you to be registered. And we are going to intensify that. Some persons do not have a TRN, and the tax administration in Jamaica will intensify, so that we want to encourage persons to be regularized so they can access these funds. We are not here to build roadblocks, but there are certain criteria for the funds, and we want to pass the information so people can make use of the funds.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.